Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be making Piglet. It's not going to be these colors though. I ran out of these colors, so I had to buy more colors, but I couldn't find these because during this pandemic yarn is just really hard to come by. So they're going to be different colors. They are going to be, let me find somewhere to put this guy. So for his main body, I'm going to use this color. This is the yarn I'm using. It is a worsted. So the color of this is blush. So that's going to be for his body. And then this color here is Bernat. It's worsted. It's actually the same size. This is, where's the color? Baby pink. So, those are the two colors I'm using. This will be his ears and his shirt. And then the other one's going to be more of a lightish pink. So, we're going to build from the head down. So, I'm going to start with my blush. I'm not sure how this gets so messy. I roll mine into cakes, but they do come in these balls I just showed you. And this Craft Smart, they all have a center pole. All of them. It's great yarn. And it's cheaper than most of them. I paid $3.99 at Michael's for this 7-ounce ball. That's Canadian dollars. I'm sorry, my dog is being a bit of a dink today. So let's just jump right into this. We're going to start with a magic ring and 6 single crochets. All morning I've been editing a video and the dog hasn't made a peep. I start filming and he starts barking. So we're building this in amigurumi style, which is why we're going to hook smaller than what it calls for. So this calls for a 5mm, so I'm going for a 4.5 because amigurumi you always go smaller. And we also don't slip stitch or do any chaining. We go right into the stitch. So you're going to need a stitch marker. Your next row is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So after the first one, that's where your marker goes. And then you put the second one in the same space. So 2 single crochets in the same space all the way around. It gives you 12 stitches. So pull your middle closed and make sure everything's closed tight. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then your increase is 2 single crochets in the same space. Repeat this all the way around. This will give you 18 stitches, 28 stitches. Oh my good lord, having one of those days. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So that's number 1 with your marker, always number 1. So that's number 2. And then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So this will give you 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 30 stitches. That's number 1. Number 2 and 3, then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So you should have 30 stitches. For the next 4 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 30 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have at this point. So we're going to do something for the next 5 rows. We're going to do I'm going to do this first one with you. So we're going to do 9 single crochets. So we're making cheeks, in case you're wondering. There's number 1. This is 9 single crochets, and then we're going to do 6 half doubles. That's 6 half doubles, and we're going to do 3 singles, so this is just in between the cheeks. And then we're going to do 6 half doubles. So if you don't want cheeks, you can just put a row of 1 single crochet, but he's got some chubby cheeks. That's my 6 half doubles, and then you're going to do 6 single crochets back to your marker. So I didn't put it up on my screen, but you're going to do this for 5 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what it should look like, and these are going to be your big fat cheeks. Well, they're not going to stick out that far, but so let's put in some eyes. I got a couple of so I wrote that they went between the 9th and the 10th row. Should be right before the cheeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So yeah, right on top of the cheeks. And I did fairly close together. Looks like I can see 3 stitches in between. So 1, 2, 3. Just make sure it's in the right spot. So there's a cheek and there's a cheek. So you just got to make sure it's in the right spot. I might move that over a bit. 1, 2, 3, because I could see 3 stitches in between my 2, so I think I'm going to put that there. So he's right on the cusp of the cheek, and he's right on the cusp of the cheek. So hopefully they're in the right spot. I put the backs on. You can stuff this guy a little bit if you need to get an idea of the cheeks that you're looking at. I I'm going to crochet mine a bit more. I'm going to start decreasing. The next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. So I'm going to decrease really slow for this dude. That's number 1, 2, and 3 single crochets, and then your decrease is over these 2 stitches. You're going to go in, and you're going to pull up a loop. You're going to go into your next one, you're going to pull up a loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those. That's your decrease. And repeat. This will bring you down to 24 stitches. So for the next 2 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 24 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. So now that my cheeks are a little more visible, I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing in this. I just want to stuff my cheeks before I start pressing everything out. So it's not the easiest thing to stuff, trying to get your cheeks full. But you just got to keep working it. Get your cheeks all stuffed. It's hard because then you come back around and you gotta put something in there, shove it down, and you kind of lose it. So do the best you can. So our next decrease is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease, and so that's going to bring us down to 18 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2. And then your decrease. And repeat. So this is what you should have at this point with his little chubby cheeks. For the next 2 rows, you're going to do the same thing, just 1 single crochet in each of those 18 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. This is going to be our neck area. So we need to change to the darker pink for our shirt. And I'm just going to show you how I change colors, but you don't have to do the same thing. So I've done my 2 rounds, but I'm going to pull some of this out. These are just 1 single crochet, so it's not a big deal. I'm going to go halfway around. I probably don't even need that much. Just need a few stitches. So because I know that I have a color change coming up, now the reason I didn't do this is because I wanted to show you, but stick some tail down in there. I'm going to put my new color right in the way of this stitch, because when I come in, I'm not grabbing that, sorry. It's just going to be there. For me to go around, I am going to weave in my new color. So my color is just sitting at the back of all my stitches. So I'm just going to weave in my new color, but I'm not using my new color yet. So when I get to the marker, I'm only going to do a half a stitch on my last stitch. I'm going to finish it with my new color. So I'm this 1 stitch here before my marker. I'm going to go in, I'm going to grab some yarn and pull it up, but to finish the stitch I'm going to do it with my new color. And that means the first stitch I do is going to be with my new color. And then I'm going to weave in my old color a little bit. So the reason we're changing is because we're going to start doing our shirt. So because we're going to start doing the shirt means we're going to start doing the body. So now we got to start increasing. So with our new color, we're going to do 2 single crochet increase, weaving in the old color in behind all those stitches. So if you're not used to it, it can be awkward. That's number 1. That's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. I'm going to cut my other color off now. I'll get him out of the way. So that's my 2 single crochet increase. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 30 stitches. Pretty shortly we're going to be adding black to this. That's number 1. That's 3 and an increase of 2 in the same space. And repeat. The next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. Number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, bringing you up to 36 stitches. So for the next 2 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches. And then we're going to change to black. So by the end of your second row, you should be weaving in a little bit of black up to your marker. So I'm just a few stitches from my marker. I'm going to start weaving in my black. For the color change, you only need to be a few stitches away. Give a little bit of a pull on this end just so you can't see it through there. So oops, sorry. My last stitch, I'm not going to finish with my pink. I'm going to finish it with my black. So I'm just going to pull down on my pink, pull down on everything. So now my pink is going to get weaved in, but just a couple of stitches because I'm going to let it hang and I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to do the same thing with the black when I do the change. I'm only going to do it, weave in the first couple stitches and then just let it hang, because this will be where I go back to it. So I don't want it over here anywhere. I want it just here. So normally I wouldn't do something like that, but we're going to be doing back and forth the color changes, so you might as well just let it drop down. So for the black, we're going to do an increase. So we're going to do a 5 single crochet increase. So we ended at a 4 single crochet increase. So bring it up to 42 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2. I'm going to drop my pink. I don't want to weave that in anymore. 3, 4, and 5. Unfortunately, I'm using a red heart black, and it is pretty thick compared to my other one, but like I said, I couldn't get the yarn I wanted. I should actually mention that all the yarn I used in this guy, who's the right color, all this is Bernat, but I couldn't get this darker pink. So this pink is the Bernat that I'm using, which is this. That's the baby pink. That's this. Couldn't get the darker pink. So that's what's going on. If you can find it, then great. You can actually make your piglet in that right color. I have to make mine in the wrong color. Now what am I at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets. I actually interrupted myself and forgot what I was doing. And an increase. So 2 single crochets in the same space. All the way around, giving you 42 stitches. So I'm back around for my color change. So I didn't weave in because my pink is already hanging here. So I am though going to finish this last stitch with the pink. So at your last stitch before the marker, you're going to go in. So you got to put obviously 2. So your first stitch goes in black, your second stitch goes in, but you're going to finish it with the pink that you have hanging here. Whoops. And then your marker stitch will end up being pink. Just make sure you pull down on everything. That means you got to pull down on the black. So you want to weave the black in the first, at least the first couple of stitches. If I can find my stitch. I hate working with black. So your next 3 rows with pink are going to be 1 single crochet in each of those 42 stitches. So just weave in your black a couple of stitches, and then you can just let that drop. So your, oh, I'm not done this one. So your next round is still in the pink, and it's a 6 single crochet increase. That's number 1. That's 6 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. This brings you up to 48 stitches. And then I want you to do 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each of these 48 stitches, and then we're going to switch back to black. So I stopped with 1 stitch left because I have to change to black. Excuse me. So I'm going to go into the stitch. I'm going to pull up a loop, and I'm going to finish it with my black. Pull down on your pink. And with black, you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Make sure you pull down on your pink. Now I'm going to weave my pink into this first couple of stitches, because that's what I do. You don't really need a stitch marker here because you're going to see when you come back around. So 1 single crochet each stitch around, and then we're gonna go back to the pink. We're just doing 1 row. So I'm back around at my last stitch, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to pull up a loop, and I'm going to finish that with my pink. Pull down on your black and everything. So the next 2 rows are just going to be in pink, 1 single crochet in each stitch. Man, that's hard to see. I have a stitch here, I know I do. And then we're going to start decreasing. So you should still have 48 stitches. Oops. I'm going too far with my black. I'm so used to weaving in. Oh, I need that. I need that out of the way. So this is what you should have. That's what your color change is going to look like. It's about as clean as we can get it. But it's all the way kind of over on the side. So we're going to start decreasing. So your next round is going to be 6 single crochets and a decrease, followed by a 5 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1. That's 6 single crochets, and then your decrease. And this brings you down to 42 stitches. So your next round's 5 single crochets and a decrease, and this brings you down to 36 stitches, and then we're going to switch back to black. That's 5 single crochets and then your decrease. So I'm on my decrease part, and I just want to show you how to do the decrease and change to black at the same time. So you're just going to go in, pull up a loop, just like normal, pull up a loop. But then your yarn over pull through all 3 is going to be done with the black. I'm stuck on my needle. So then you just pull down on the pink, pull down on everything. So your next round with the black is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So just make sure you're pulling down on the pink and everything. Keeping everything nice and tight. I don't really need that. So you should have 36 stitches. So you're going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches. So I got my 1 more stitch left, and I'm going to go back to my pink. Now because of the decrease, that's why it looks like it's over here now. But so go in, pull up a loop, finish this stitch with your pink, pull down on your black, so your next round with your pink is going to be decrease, and we're going to do a 4 single crochet decrease. There is going to be no more changing to black. So I'm going to weave my black in just for a bit, and then I'm just going to cut it off. Because this is it. It's going to be all pink from here. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing 4 single crochet decrease, aren't I? I'm not even paying attention to myself. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. So a decrease. Still weaving in my black. 4 single crochet decrease. So I'm about halfway around. I'm going to cut my black off and be done with that. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, and then your next round after that is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So we're just going to get ready to close up the bottom. You might want to put a little bit of stuffing in this guy. So that's number 1, 2, and 3, and then your decrease. This brings you down to 24 stitches, and then the next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of those 24 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease, and this brings you down to 18 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2, and then your decrease. So before we do our last round, let's get this guy stuffed. And then we can close them up. Just make sure he's got enough stuffing in his neck. I think that's good for me. So my last row is 1 single crochet decrease, and then we can cinch this shut. That's my 1 single crochet. It's going to be hard to show you on camera, since this now sits to about here. 1 single crochet decrease. This brings you down to 12 stitches. So that is it. We can just go into the next stitch and we can fasten off. So you just need enough to cinch and weave, so not a whole lot. Just make sure that it's completely stuffed at the bottom before you cinch it closed. So you're just going to use one piece of thread. You're going to pick up the front loop. You're going to go in and out. All the way around. Just one piece, that's all you need. In and out. Till you come back around, and then you can just pull that closed. So you're going to want to come across because you're going to want to make sure this cinch is secure. And make a knot so when you pull back and forth, it does that right up. And then just weave in and out, back and forward, here and there, to and fro. So your bottom doesn't look too horrible. Wish this was the right color. I'm glad my other one's the right color. Kind of driving me a little nutsoid. Let's do this because his face is looking pretty stupid right now. So let's do his face before we do the ears and stuff like that. So let's do this nose, his little snout. His snout is the same color as his shirt and his ears. If you look at a picture. So, to make a magic ring, and put 6 single crochets in there. You're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So that's my 12. I wanted this nose to look different, more squared off than round, because it's a pig's nose. So I chose to do my next round in the back loops only. So these are your back loops right here. So I just did one single crochet in each stitch around, so 12 stitches. I'm just going to count, I'm not going to use my marker, just in the back loops. That is my 12, and that is the end of my snout. So I'm going to go into the next stitch, like the full stitch, and I'm going to fasten off. So you need a sewing tail. As far as this straggler goes, you can just tighten your center hole, your magic ring, and then make a knot. I put a little bit of stuff in behind this nose because I wanted the definition. There was no point doing those back loops only if I wasn't going to do the definition. So it kind of squares it off a bit, and that's what I wanted, and that's why I did that. So this goes right up here, so close to between the eyes. I get a pin. I'm going to sew 3/4 of the way around, and then I'm just going to stick some stuffing in there. You can sew this on any way you like. But you gotta really make sure to keep that shape. That's the hardest part, is just trying to keep the shape. So I'm going to shove some stuffing up here now. And it's going to be such a tiny bit, it'll make you wonder why I even bothered. But, so it just makes it a little more difficult to sew on. But just make sure you pack it, because it'll be easier. I didn't put a whole lot because I still wanted to kind of keep that square shape, but I didn't want it to constantly be having to be fixed. And I just know from past experience that if I didn't stuff it, you would constantly feel like you're fixing the nose. So I did not want to do that. My camera battery is dying, so it just wants to keep shutting off. I'm just going to end this and then I'll change my battery. So I'm right back around to where I started, sort of. So that's his little nose on there now. So looks a little better. I'm not going to weave with this because it's a different color, but I am going to make a knot and then I'm going to poke it down, just so that nobody can try to yank my nose off. So when you cut this, leave it a little nubby so that that knot doesn't work its way open, and then just poke it down into his chubby cheeks, which you might have to fill with stuffing again. Everything gets all out of whack. So I'll change my battery and I'll meet you right back here. So you're gonna need some black. So we're gonna make his mouth and his eyebrows. So tie a knot on one end, or a double knot, whatever you want. I'll tie a double knot. I'll dye a double knot. The other end you can thread. So it doesn't matter where you come in, it just matters where you come out. So the mouth on Piglet runs right, literally underneath his nose. So come out beside his nose. So we're gonna, don't pull this in, we're gonna poke it in. So this is where I glued this because I didn't want it to keep moving on me. So I glued, oh, of course my glue's not gonna work now. I always forget to close these and then everything gets dry and it doesn't want to work. So I'm just gonna glue. So I'm gonna go back down this hole. So I just want to glue this in place. I'm going to go back down this hole because it's right across. But I want to shoot up and do the eyebrows, so I'm going to shoot up here. Figure out where you want your eyebrows. So when I pull, that's going to kind of finish my mouth like that. And then these eyebrows, they're kind of slanty. So I don't know. Go in where you want your eyebrow to be. I might go over one more. He's got a big enough head. I'm going to go over a little bit like that. But then I'm going to come down. Trying to come down to the same place that I'm like across. I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna be in the same spot. So when I pulled it way too hard on that. And then you just come back up and you do the exact same thing, but then you can just pop out wherever you pop out. So I'll just pop out the back of the head. does not feel like it's the same size. Maybe. There we go. There's Piglet's face. So that's how I did that. So now his mouth is going to have time to dry while we do the ears and stuff like that. So I'm going to tie a knot, cut it off, leaving a nubby, poke it down. Poke it way down. Just make sure you get it into that stuffing so that you can't see it. That won't always be stretched out like that. It'll go back. So I'm just going to make a shorter nubby on this one. I'm going to poke him down. I don't think I needed a double knot. There. He'll look better with ears. But there's Piglet's face. So let's move on to arms and legs first, and then we'll do the ears at the end. These are so small and so quick. So let's do an arm. I'll do one with you and then leave you to your own arm. So let's start with a magic ring and 6 single crochets. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around, so that'll be 12. I'm not going to use my marker, but if you're going to, it goes in after the first stitch, not the second one. I'm just going to count to 12. That's my 12. So for the next 2 rows, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches. You can use your marker, or you can just count to 24. So that was my 24 stitches. So we're going to, that's going to get in my way. So we're going to decrease a bit. You're going to start with SC2 tog, which means you're going to single crochet 2 together, which is only a decrease. I lost my stitch marker. Oh, there it is. Then you're going to do 8 single crochets. And then you're going to do another decrease, or an SC2 tog. So SC2 tog stands for single crochet 2 together, which is exactly the same. So at this point you should have 10 stitches, and from here we're going to do 18 rows of 1 single crochet in each of these 10 stitches. And then you can fasten off with a sewing tail, stuff it. I'm just trying to keep the video short. Fasten off, stuff it, and you can decide to sew it on, whether you want to sew it on or not. It's up to you. I sew it on from the neck area. I'll show you mine here. My other one, my one with the real colors. That's where I sewed my arms on. It's just right coming out of the neck. And then my legs, we'll get to that. But so 18 rows. Follow my screen prompts because they're smarter than what usually comes out of my mouth. And you're just gonna whip stitch the top shut. So before I sewed it, I just whip stitched the top shut so it was nice and flat. easier to sew on. Tried to make it as easy peasy as I could. And I will see you. I'll put my other pattern up. So I'll put the 18 rows up that you got to do. And, you know, the whip stitching and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Sew it to the neck area. Then I'll put up pattern for the arm. And you can make your second one, stuff it, and sew it on if you want. And then I'll meet you back here after all of this. Well, I'll meet you back and we'll sew one arm on together in case you wanted to see how it was done. And that should make the video a lot shorter. Then we'll get to the legs and then the ears. So I've got both my arms done. I just got to whip stitch the top shut. So you just go in. Now a whip stitch is back loop to back loop, but we're gonna do a fake whip stitch. We're just gonna go through all of them. We don't need to be that picky. But some projects I have, it depends. Depends on a lot of things. But this one, it's fine. You can just... So I've already sewn my other one on. So I'm just going to show you. I'm going to turn it around. I work better from right to left. So just make sure you match it up with this guy. And we're going to sew it right at the neck. So I'm going to come in as close as I can to my arm. And I'm going to come up into the arm. So when I pull up, it sucks that stitch in underneath. So you won't be able to see it. But you do have to come in as close as you can to the arm. And then come up into it. So these are called invisible stitches. But then when I get to the end, it's always so difficult, so I usually just go in and out. And when I go in and out on the edge, it seems to pull the arm into place on the corners, but I always go backwards. So when I come in on this corner, I shoot out backwards. And then it'll pull that corner down, so it won't look so bad. It won't look so square, do you know what I mean? And then I like to come back down the same stitch I just came out of and go into this corner. I go back up into this corner. And I like to do the same thing. Oops, I just pulled way too hard. I like to go back down into the corner of this side and pop out over here. So it does the same thing. It takes that squared off edge and kind of rounds it out a little bit. So you can weave in and out, back and forth to wherever we're gonna weave, and then I would just make a knot or just cut it off, do whatever you want. I like to make a knot and poke it down, so if any kid or whatever's, you know, pulling at the arm, it should slow the process of coming off, if not stop it altogether by getting lodged into the stuffing. There we go. So wherever you've just pulled too tight, you can use your needle and just pop it all out. So there's his arms all done, and you can kind of move them and shape them and, you know, do whatever you want. Let's get to the legs done. Legs are a little more time consuming because we put little feetsies on this guy. So the only bonus part is you don't need to start with a magic ring. You're going to start with a slip knot. And you're going to chain 7. You're going to do 2 single crochets. Then you're going to do 2 half double crochets. You're going to do 1 double crochet. Oh, I get in there. You should have 1 stitch left, and in that stitch you're going to put 4 double crochets in that same space. So that's my 4. So you see how it's kind of coming around like this? So we're going to pull our slip knot tight, and then we're going to turn it to the side, and we're going to work over on this side now. And I'm going to weave in my tail. So just make sure your slip knot is tight before you weave in your tail. So now in this first stitch, that's my knot, my slip knot right there. So on the stitch right next to it, again, to put 1 double crochet. These should be being stacked like a rib cage now, so that is across from that stitch. My next stitch is going to be, my next 2 stitches is going to be a half double crochet in each. So there's a half double. There's a half double. And then 2 single crochets. So we did the exact same thing we did on the other side. So it should look like a rib cage. Just like that. So you can cut this off. You weaved it in, you can just snip it off. We don't need it. So we're going to put a marker in this first stitch. We're going to put 2 single crochets in here. But after the first stitch, we're going to put our marker. And then we're going to put the second stitch in that same space. Then we're going to do 12 single crochets. It's easier, just pop it over like I just did. That's my 12 single crochets, and you got 1 stitch left. You're going to put 2 single crochets in that space. So this is what it should look like right now. So your next round, get my computer to work. Your next round is 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches you should have, according to my computer. That's my 16 for me. So your next round, we're going to decrease a little bit. So I want you to do, and we're only decreasing at the toe because we're going to make it look like a foot. So you're going to do 6 single crochets. This is number 1. That's 6 single crochets, so this is our toe area. So in this toe area, I want you to do the sequence 1 single crochet decrease 2 times. So that's 1 single crochet and a decrease, and do it again, 1 single crochet and a decrease. Then you should have 4 single crochets back to your marker. So there's your little footy. We're going to decrease the toe again. So I want you to do 6 single crochets. That's number 1. That's 6 single crochets, so we're going to decrease again. This time we're just going to do a regular decrease. So just a decrease 2 times. So that's the first decrease, and this is the second decrease. If you want to do invisible ones, that would probably look great. 4 single crochets back to the marker. I'll show you the invisible ones. I'll show you how to do an invisible one in the next round here. You could probably start stuffing this. I'm going to wait. Your next round, so this is your last decrease round. I'll show you what an invisible decrease is. So I want you to do 5 single crochets on this one because it's getting smaller and smaller. So just 5 this time. That's number 1. That's 5, and then I want you to decrease twice. So if you want to do an invisible decrease, you're just going to use the front loops, and you're going to yarn over and pull through. You're going to go into the front loop of the next stitch, pull through. You're going to pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. That is an invisible decrease, and then do it again. Pull through 2, pull through 2. So you're not supposed to see it. 3 single crochets to your marker. So that's what your foot should look, your little booty should look like right about now. So for the next 12 rows, you should have 10 stitches. For the next 12 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 10 stitches. You can fasten off when you're done. So the top shut, just like we did the arms. And then I'll show you when we come back where to sew to the bottom. So I got my one leg on. My other leg, I need to whip stitch shut. But that's what it should look like, by the way. A little footy. Anyway, you got to make sure that you're going to squeeze it. So it needs to be flat and the toe needs to be there. Now my thing's in the wrong spot, so I'm just going to scooch over to the side so I can whip stitch it properly. And now it's over at the side, so that's the only thing I don't really watch out for. So all I did to determine where I was sitting him, I just sat him down, and then wherever his leg ended up, I just kind of held it there and sewed. So mine ended up being, it's hard to tell, I can't really see what's going on. Maybe just a couple of rows up from there. I just want this guy sitting. However, you can determine how far apart your legs are going to be, but again, I'm just going to do invisible stitches Legs are a lot easier to sew on. But I do the same thing with the legs as I do the arms with the corners. Just because aesthetically I think it looks better. So you can do whatever you want. Whatever your little heart desires. So I'm just going to scooch down here so I can hide this end. Since it's all different colors. So again, I'm just going to tie the knot, poke it down. There we go. So mine's different because every single stuffed animal I do, every doll I make is turned slightly. I do that on purpose. It's my signature move, so yours will not look like this. It'll probably look like this or something. Mine is always turned. Whether it's his head or his body a little bit, I always have a turn, so don't think you've done something wrong. So he should sit up on his own if you've done his legs properly. So let's get these ears done so we finish this guy off. The ears are done with this darker pink color that we did for his shirt and his nose. So his ears should match the same color as his nose. So we are going to do a magic ring, but this one's going to have 4 single crochets because I want a point on top of the ears. So we start small. My camera keeps overheating. Okay. We're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch. So that's 8. I'm just going to count to 8 because it's so small that sticking a stitch marker in here seems silly to me. So I'm just going to count to 8, putting 2 in each stitch. So now I just want you to do 1 single crochet in each, so 8 stitches. There we go. Now that I think I've established a point, we can get on with this 1 single crochet increase. So that's 1 single crochet. So your next round, or your next stitch, is going to have the increase of 2 in the same space. And repeat. This takes you up to 12 stitches. 1 single crochet and an increase. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. My dog is running around. I have a delivery guy at my door. That's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. This will bring you up to 16 stitches. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. And this will bring you up to 20 stitches. That's 1 single crochet, 3 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Don't forget to always count this as number 1. Your next round, or your next rounds can be 4 single crochets and an increase. And that'll still bring you up to 24 stitches. And then after this, the next 3 rows are just going to be 1 single crochet in each of those 24 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what it should look like right now. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease, because we ended with 4 single crochet increase. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your decrease. And repeat. This takes you down to 20 stitches. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 16 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease, and it's going to bring you down to 12 stitches. And then to end it off, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 12 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2. And a decrease. We're not stuffing this either. So I am done. I'm going to fasten off. So you need a sewing tail. We're going to sew this on concaved. Go into your next stitch, pull this through, and then pull up. That'll kind of help even it off. So, hold on, I gotta sneeze. Oh, no, maybe not. So, I'm going to concave at the front, which means that this guy's going to be at the back. So I'm going to concave him this way. And I'm going to sew it on so that it's concaved. And in here, let me show you my other guy. So, in here, that's not shadowing, that's makeup. So he gets sewn on concaved in, which means sunken in like that. So I put makeup on my,
This is so hard to open. I don't know why it's so hard to open, but it is so hard to open. Oh my gosh. We should probably not make things that are that hard to open. Oh, that's my brush.
So I use all these colors on depending on what I'm doing with my people, with my animals, my people. And then this drawer here has got lipsticks and stuff that you can use for doll lips, like if you do fairies and stuff. So that's the pink color I used for the inside of his ear, but this ear's a little bit of a different color. His whole body's a little bit of a different color because I couldn't get the right color So I think with him, I'm going to try to stay in the pink area, but I think with him I'm just going to do a brownish color. So I pat it or rub it just to get it around the area I want it, and then I rub to spread it with my fingers or my thumb. So that's how I do it. So then I know I'm just getting it in that concaved part. Do you know what I mean? And that is it. So this is my other one. Actually, this one's bigger. It was made with different yarn. This was my old yarn. So I'm gonna have two different size ears, but so you don't need to do the makeup trick. I just thought, in case anybody wondered how I did that, that's how I do it. So, and my ears. So go ahead and make your second ear, and then we'll sew them on open, but concaved. I don't know. If you find it easier to sew it on with whip stitch, because they're concaved anyway, right? You can do that, but I find it easier to sew on like that, actually. So you can do whatever you want. It's your baby. And that'll be the end of the video. That'll be it. So go ahead, get your ears sewn on, or get your ears made, and then come back here and I will show you how I sew on the ears. So I've got my one ear sewn on. This ear is a little smaller because I made it with different yarn, but so I'm just keeping them off to the side here. So if you can see where my magic ring is there, it's literally on that. But you can decide wherever you want to put yours. I might have to raise my camera up for this. The camera's a little low for ears. So, you just gotta, excuse me, make sure that they're even, of course. So, I try to do this the easiest way possible because I suck at sewing. So, I'm going to go into this stitch right here. I'm going to go down into the head, and I'm going to pop out to front here. So my pins don't necessarily hold this still very well. That's why it's so difficult to do on camera. So now I'm going back down the same hole, but now I'm going to come up into this stitch here, but I'm going to go right through the ear to the back. So now I'm up here at the back. I'm going to just give it a snug little pull. I'm going to go down into the head at the back. It's very hard to do on camera. So if you can't really see a whole lot, sorry. So I'm just basically moving my yarn a lot. I'm going to come back up into the front. I'm going to go back down the same hole, but up through a different stitch and out the back of the ear. So I'm just going in and out of the ear. There we go. I've got my two completely different colors. Completely different size because I'm struggling to get yarn. Those are my ears on this guy. This guy turned out way better because I actually had the right colors and everything, but what do? You're just in the middle of a pandemic. I guess you don't have much of a choice. But anyway, there's my guys. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.